Well, the first thing we got to talk about is we got to meet 2/3 of the Kryptonauts.
Yes.
Actually, this is the second time we've seen the guys.
Mark Soares and Rob Morphy were over at the Finger Lakes Mall
yesterday. Which was November 15th. Mm-hmm. And they were doing, there was a thing called Mysticon. And I heard about it like the day before or so. And we were already heading out to Canandaigua, but between Canandaigua and our home is Auburn. So it was like, hey, yeah, let's stop in.
Sure.
And so on our way back from Canandaigua, we stopped in. And like I said, this is the second time we've met. We've seen these guys live. But they weren't doing a show. But they recognized us immediately. They said, Rob and Mark, awesome dudes. We ended up having a very long conversation with them.
Didn't get to see Chris.
But
he had better things to do.
It was an interesting day. We got to see witches dancing, pirates singing, talked to a couple paranormal groups. Upstate Paranormal, I think was the name of the one, and the Pit Crew New York, Pit Crew in NY. But Pit Crew does a lot of investigations in historical sites around our area, so that's how I was very familiar with them. And they had their psychics and the mandala readers and everything like that.
The tarot card readers and all that.
So
how long was that going on? All weekend?
No, it was just that one day.
Just one day. Okay.
We had fun. We went and talked to Rob and Mark for a long time. Had a great time. Definitely want to do a collaboration with the dudes. Definitely. Welcome to Unearth the Upstate. I'm Mari.
And as always, I'm Matthew.
And there was one thing I forgot to do when we were doing our little banter was we posted that we're moving our files over to Patreon. Right now, it's going to be a secondary repository of the stuff you can find on our YouTube channel. YouTube just changed its terms of service. I don't know if this is going to be that big of a problem. I'm just kind of preparing myself. I'm not saying I'm scared this is going to happen, but they did state something in the new terms of service that made me a little nervous as a small content creator who's not making money off YouTube and doesn't plan to make money off YouTube. My stuff is just there as a way for people to find it, really. Okay.
I encourage all content creators at this point to find other venues.
The clause that got me worried is not the one that everybody's getting upset about online. The clause that got me worried is that they would shut us out of YouTube if we were not commercially viable. In other words, they have the option to do that. Well, since I'm not making any money off it, and I'm not trying to make money off of it, and I'm not making a living off of it, I would be probably one of the first to get the axe.
And that includes the channels that I run as well. On a,
and so that also includes on our
basis
because we're using it as a repository. So what I'm doing now is I'm moving the same files we have on YouTube. If they're public on YouTube, they will be public on Patreon as well.
Absolutely.
So I'm just using Patreon as a way to reposit everything. So now if you don't want to listen to our podcast via a podcast app, you can go to Patreon. Don't have to worry about paying for the ones that everyone can hear. You just go to our site on Patreon and listen to them there. And eventually all the files will be moved over there. Or as of right now, you can still go to YouTube. If this ends up being a big problem with YouTube, I don't know. I just don't want to keep my eggs in one basket and have that basket taken away. So that's the end of that announcement, basically.
Announcement out of the way.
Yeah. Now we're going on with the show, and folks, I do have to warn you, there's no paranormal with this one. There's no supernatural, but it is...
Because the monsters are real.
The monsters are real, yeah. This event happened. I remember it happened. I was 7 years old when most of the news hit about this happening, and we were living in Wisconsin at the time. You were fairly young.
I was a tween at the time.
You were a tween at the time, but you probably remember hearing about this place. Yeah.
Well, I remember the rocket going up in 1969.
Well, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah, I was sitting on the the hardwood floor of the ranch house up in northwest Wisconsin, watching that on our black and white TV.
Yeah.
The rocket going up, the Apollo mission to the moon. Anyway, I digress. I, of course,
So you definitely remember this event.
Definitely remember.
This wasn't a singularity event. This was a combination of, I don't want to say corporate greed, because I do think if you look at the timeline, some of it was misunderstanding of the science. So I will give the corporation a little bit of leeway, because some of this stuff was happening at a time when they were going, hey, nuclear power is awesome!
Yeah, but they didn't do their research. Oh, yes, I'm glad you mentioned...
DDT, we can spray that on kids and there'd be no issues. I mean,
right, exactly.
So you've got things coming out of that mindset.
Yeah, let's use thalidomide to prevent miscarriages.
So some of this was not arrogance, it was ignorance. Yeah. But at the same token, 20/20 vision, you're going, couldn't you see the warning signs? Exactly. And then, of course, everybody tried to protect themselves.
Yeah, there was a big scramble.
And it was the little people who got harmed in more ways than one.
Literally the little people, children, were primarily the victims of this corporate dumping that they did at none other than Love Canal.
That is our that we are going to discuss Love Canal. Like we said, there's no supernatural, no paranormal, but it is a ghost town. And we've discussed ghost towns before, and a lot of ghost towns get a lot of rumors about them. And they usually involve witches, and they usually involve some curse. And this is a honest-to-goodness modern ghost town.
Daredevils who jump to their deaths.
But this is an honest-to-goodness modern ghost town. If you go on Google Maps, you can still see where the streets were laid out.
Yeah, you can go on Google. You can't get a street view of this place, folks.
No,
because they won't allow it.
You have to go on Google Earth.
Yeah, you have to go on Google Earth. Check out the satellite mode, and you will see where the houses used to be.
Yes.
And right at the epicenter of what all this
this
disaster happened.
Let's back up to when this all started. And we have to back up into the 1800s. 1893, a man named William T. Love decided that, hey, those Niagara Falls aren't far from my property. If there was a way for me to harness that power and I could control that power. So he wanted to build this canal that would allow him to build his own hydroelectric dam in the area and basically rerouting some of the hydropower from the falls. That was his big plan, and he had investors, and everything was going swimmingly until
this predates the legislation.
Yes, and until the Great Depression. I mean, this guy had a great plan. He was going to build a model city there.
Well, alternating current was discovered.
Yeah. Well, there were so many experiments going on in Niagara Falls with Tesla.
Exactly. And so now with alternating current, we could offer the electrical service out to the outlying areas further away.
Right, and that's where he was jumping in.
You can go hundreds of miles now with our alternating current and service the rural areas. They don't need a local plan anymore.
So this guy had a good idea. I mean, in retrospect, this guy had a great idea. Problem was his timing sucked.
Yep.
The Great Depression hit, lost all his money, lost all his investors, and the canal was never finished. So Love Canal was never finished. The actual canal that William Love planned. For a few decades, this unfinished canal area becomes like a little recreation area. It becomes people go there to swim.
It becomes like a picnic spot.
And all this. So people were utilizing it in a very positive manner. I mean, it's this land that's been partially dug up, left alone. So people were out there, picnicking, swimming, whatever.
Around the old earthworks there, where the canal was being dug.
There's no money being made off this land.
Oh dear, that's a problem for people in corporations and who hold public office, which is foreshadowing.
Yeah. So. But also because nobody really owned the land, if I understand this right. That's where the first dumping started. I'm not sure who started the first dumping there. I don't know if it was the city using it as a municipal waste area.
That's what I read.
Yeah.
That the city began to use it as a landfill.
As a landfill. So you did. Okay, I wasn't too sure. In my notes, I wasn't too clear on that. So it was already being used as dumping while people were swimming and picnicking and all this. But this is a landfill, like landfills we got now. I mean, if those are maintained well, the dumps, we're talking
about the kind of trash that was being buried in the landfills without plastic. This is pre-petroleum product, landfill.
Okay.
which had primarily just garbage in it.
Yeah. So, not the best thing to have around when we got people playing, but it's going to get worse.
Yeah. Well, people get used to the idea
of dumping.
Of filling a space with trash.
Yep. Which we've always done. Mm-hmm. Archaeology would not figure out half of the stuff, if it wasn't for people filling their... Okay, I'm going to get gross here, but this is legit. This is a human trait. We've been doing this since we evolved, okay? We build a pit, usually to do our human waste in. Mm-hmm. Well, once that gets full, or almost full, well, you might as well throw the rest of the garbage in there and cover it up and make another pit.
Yeah.
Very common. Mm-hmm. And most of archaeology is digging up these pits. We talked about Uncle Sam's chamber pot. And guess where Uncle Sam's chamber pot was found? In one of these pits.
In one of these pits, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this idea of building a hole, dumping our stuff in it, covering up, is something we've done for millennia.
We wouldn't know the fraction of the amount of what we know now about the diet and habits of early humans.
Right.
If it wasn't without these depositories. Yeah.
The problem is, as long as it's just our waste and it's just the household waste.
As long as you're keeping your own effluent separate from your drinking water.
Yeah. Okay. You're not going to have major environmental disasters. Mm-hmm. When you get a lot of people in there, then you could have cholera. Then you could have, there are issues.
Hysteria.
There are, things happen. When the Thames, that's how you say it. When the Thames in the late 1800s got so full of effluents and it was that hot summer and they literally were like, Parliament couldn't stand the smell. So instead of trying to solve the problem, they were doing things like scenting the drapes.
Drenching the drapes in perfumes.
Plugging their noses while they were at meetings instead of cleaning up the problem. And lo and behold, they had the cholera outbreaks starting to happen about that time and everything.
Because people were pooping where they were drinking.
Yeah, so we have a producer needs to come in. Which one is it today? It's Lloyd.
Lloyd's the winner. All right, come on in, Lloyd.
Come in, Lloyd. See how we're doing. All right. Anyway, so it gives you an example. We've always disposed of waste that certain way, and problems have always occurred. Well, we start getting.
Let's not forget to mention Dr. Snow.
Oh yes, we'll go back to London. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, we're still in London.
Well, we're still in London. Explain the history of our garbage in waterways.
Yes, Dr. Snow.
Snow.
Dr. John Snow. No relation. He said, "Hey, everybody, you got to stop drinking the water out of the Thames. You're pooping while you're drinking. Stop that." Yeah. And hey, Parliament, by the way.
Yeah.
All right, let me recommend, because he was consulted.
Yeah.
He says, You've got to get people to drink another source of liquids.
Of course, then they went to alcohol for that, but yeah.
Well, yes. Alcohol. Well, thank goodness for the small beer.
Yeah.
Which back then, a small beer wasn't, in relation to its size, it was...
the amount of alcohol.
Yes.
It was about as alcoholic as a really nice brewed root beer. Mm-hmm. I'm not talking about a carbonated one with root beer flavoring. I'm talking about a brewed root beer where the alcohol content is like 0.5.
Yeah,
0.05 or something.
Alcohol. Yeah. But people would be drinking the Victorian beer.
Yeah.
But
they started drinking
they
stronger ones, but anyway.
Yeah, exactly. This led to a period of drunkenness amongst Londoners just generally.
But because the way you brew beer, the water was usually purified in the process. But
the thing is about Parliament is that they straightened out their crap.
Yeah.
They straightened out their literally. Act. They cleaned up their act. Actually, yeah, absolutely. And they got the problem solved. They got the drinking water separated from all the rest.
Got the sewers built, yeah.
And the sewers built and whatnot. But they made some very interesting discoveries too. Mm-hmm.
So all this this happened prior to this dumping going on. Okay, let's go back to New York. So we got the Great Depression coming through. Love's Canal fails. City starts using it as a dump. People are using it as a nice little picnic area. Mm-hmm. And now the city's like, oh, we need to make some money off of it. So this chemical company offers to buy the land. And the name of the chemical company was Hooker Chemicals. Hooker Chemical and Plastics Company starts using it as a dump site. Now, here we get into the problem.
So Hooker pumped itself up.
Pretty much.
I couldn't resist.
because now you're dealing with heavier duty chemicals. You're not dealing with household waste. You're dealing with offshoots of petroleum. You're dealing with hazardous waste,
chemicals
waste.
that human beings should never come into physical contact with, because it will cause birth defects.
And they're dumping it there.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Rumors at this time and later also say that some of the hospitals were dumping some of their stuff there. There is a rumor, I haven't found any way to support this rumor, that there was some dumping done by the Manhattan Project there. There's
nothing I found
that supports that rumor.
Books that would substantiate that.
But it was Project. A lot of people were dumping. One of the chemicals that was found there is 2,4,6 let me try to pronounce this now. 2,4,6 trichlorophenols.
Oh, wow.
Okay, which is used as a fungicide, a herbicide, an insecticide, antiseptic, a defoliant, and a glue preservative. Okay, so it is still used a lot, but the health effects include lymphoma, leukemia, and liver cancer. Classified as a B2, probable human carcinogen by the United States Environmental Protection Agency. Okay, it's a pollutant that has been found in the fresh water, including the Great Lakes. So some
lovely prizes to be won when you dump this crap into your environment.
This is one of the things that are being dumped at this time. Well, it fills up. I mean, like we were describing the holes before. You fill them up, cover them up, move on. Well, they filled it up, going to cover up, move on. Well, what do you do with this land? This company sells a lot of the land to the school district for $1. Great deal for the school district. There's people, the population's booming. Mm-hmm. They have got families moving into this area. They need a school.
Blue collar workers.
Hey, we got all this land for $1. Now there was a clause, and this comes into a bigger deal later, in which basically they said, well, if you find anything,
well, buyer beware.
Well, yeah, they put a little clause in there that said basically we're not responsible for any issues that develop after the sale. Basically is what it said. There's a bunch of legalese. There's a bunch of legalese in it, but basically they're trying to protect their butts.
Yep. So, knowing that blue-collar families wouldn't have the buying power to acquire legal representation in order to go after a corporation that dumped.
This is also the 1950s. Remember, the 1950s, DDT sprayed everywhere.
Yes.
Thulin mines being used on pregnant women, So there is a lot of ignorance at this point. But because they put that clause in there, you kind of know that they knew some stuff was up already.
Yeah, of course, because I don't know if they did their own laboratory testing on these toxins. Mm-hmm. If they did any testing on smaller life forms, like rats. Right. I've been informed by people who are into the know of veterinarian medicine that they use rats a lot of the time because rats are susceptible to create the development of tumors, and that's why they only have a 3-year lifespan.
Right. Lloyd's saying hi.
Lloyd boy is saying hi. Thank you, producer Lloyd. He prefers the bed to my lap right now.
So anyway, this happened in 1953. They sold the land to the Niagara Falls Board of Education for $1. In 1954, they start building the first elementary school there, but the contractors are complaining of the strong chemical smells and the fact the ground is so soft, so they literally have to move where they're building the school.
The stuff corrupts
everything
it touches.
Yep.
That soil has now is indelibly changed by all of the stuff that it's come into contact with. It's completely unusable. What are you going to do? Pack the stuff up into rockets and shoot it off for the sun?
No.
Practically, there's no way you can clean it out of the soil.
Well, at this point, all they know is it smells bad, and no one is really... Think about these poor guys are building on this, too.
Well, the people who are coming into contact with it, we're handling it to get it into the
That's an interesting thing. Did anybody go back to these building contractors and see what their rate... I mean, I'm jumping ahead of myself a little bit, but their rate of developing the cancers and the liver disease and all that was. That would have been an interesting study. I would like to find it if anybody's done it.
Yeah.
Because they had people built by 1955. They were building roads on top of this. They were getting ready.
Somebody had to go out there with a shovel.
They had to lay utilities down. So the very first people who are exposed to it are the construction workers.
Right.
Okay, I would love to hear if anybody's ever done a study on these construction workers and find out what health problems they had from being the first ones on this site.
It might open up a new case.
Yeah. By 1960, the Board of Education gives 6 acres to the city to make a park. So now there's a school there, there's a park, they're laying down roads, they're putting the utilities in. In 1962, another 6 acres is given to a developer to start building, not low income necessarily, but low to mid.
Blue collar.
Blue collar subdivision, basically.
The housewife turned activist.
Which we'll get to.
Which we'll get to, yes.
Because she's very young at this point. She's not even married at this point.
Exactly. And so, yes, they moved these blue-collar families into just small homes like raised ranches.
Yeah.
With a 3-bedroom patio and maybe a 2-car garage or something like that. Selling to these people, these blue-collar workers, this idea, piggybacking, riding on the coattails of the American dream.
These were baby boomers as children.
Yeah.
This is the baby boomer generation as children. These were what their parents are trying to get them into a nice situation. This is after World War II. They're coming into school age. Let's get them into a nice place.
When I was a residential insurance investigator, I referred to these homes as GI Bill houses.
GI Bill houses, yeah.
Because they're basically, and a few really were, that I investigated. But,
Now we're going to jump ahead to the 70s. And people are starting to realize that all this industrial growth from the 20s on, especially in the chemical field, is starting to cause problems. We're getting levels of mercury in the Great Lakes, which are killing off fish like crazy. And of course, people are eating this fish and getting mercury poisoning. People are starting to realize, there are areas where the groundwater is contaminated and it's being contaminated by a factory that's miles away, but it's seeping through the groundwater.
But it's upstream.
But it's getting through the groundwater that way. I mean, think what happened in Detroit, and it's still happening in Detroit, it's horrible. Okay. But that was a conscious decision on a municipality to use that water in that location. Okay. This is a little different. This was years of dumping, not really understanding what's going on, not understanding that, the earth can only take so much of this toxic stuff and it's got to go somewhere. And this is in the 70s, how it starts affecting outside of, the tree huggers at this point, or, even into the 80s, like, you guys are just being, it's like the climate change activists today. You've got these vocal groups of people who just refuse to listen to them because it doesn't affect them and with their blinders on, okay? And they had the same thing going on in the 70s. I remember I had a science teacher who would always get in fights with other teachers, verbal fights, not fist fights, because he was one of these environmentalists. But his stuff was backed up by stuff he had read. I mean, but we'd had other teachers who were like, well, we don't see that up here, so why should we care?
The climate fluctuation science that's based on hard data is the most compelling. You don't have people putting forward the fact that magnetic fields change, and that too affects the environment. But however, the things we do to it that make our environment almost immediately or, further in the future unhealthy.
And this is what was starting in the 70s is
absolutely.
People were starting to realize, geez, this DDT is causing issues.
The damaging
Mercury
effects,
is causing issues.
The damaging effects of chlorofluorocarbons being released into the air is having an effect on our ozone. Jeez.
Right. And this is all starting to come up, but people at this point, even though, just don't eat fish. There's still this kind of blinder action, which you still see today.
Actually.
But then we get, starting at that time too, in Love Canal, people are starting to wonder what's going on with their families. The health department notices that the children are getting sicker there for some reason. And you were talking about this housewife turned activist, Louise Gibbs, I'm sorry. she's 20 years old, moves in there. She's got her children, new house, starting a perfect life.
Mm-hmm.
And then her son starts getting sick. He's not even in kindergarten yet.
Mm-hmm.
And he's developing some very severe illnesses.
He developed epileptic symptoms.
Yeah. Okay, so anyway, she starts noticing. And then she starts
Mm-hmm.
talking to her neighbors. And a lot of people are getting sick.
They start corroborating each other's stories, saying, hey,
so
look,
she goes to the school district and says, can I pull my son out? Because I think we just had the health department down here saying that there's like pools of thing. There's like this liquid that's seeping out near the playground. I want to take my child out of school, but I think the environment's making him ill. And they told her basically no, because if they pulled him out, they'd have to pull all the kids out. Uh-huh. And so they basically shut her down. Well, then she's starting to realize what's going on. She's talking to her neighbors. They're discussing, and there are a lot of children getting sick. And it's not, they got a cold. No, this is like, they've got leukemia. Mm-hmm. They're developing liver problems. It's obviously something severe is going on at this point. Yeah. And like I said, other things are popping up at this point. You've got Lake Erie, quote unquote, dies at this point because of all the chemical dumping. I'm sure at this point, Lake Onondaga was also being shut down at this point because of all the chemical dumping. You've got red dye number 2 hitting the news because of the health effects of that. Lake Ontario is poisoned by this chemical called Murex. So all this is hitting the fan at the same time in the news. And it's all
the same time that Love Canal is occurring.
All the same time where people are going, what is going on at Love Canal? Yeah. Okay, so like I said, all this dumping has been going on for decades, some of it out of ignorance, okay, and not arrogance, ignorance.
We've got this chemical byproduct. We don't have any use for it. Well, let's just stick it in the dump.
And let's throw it in a sealed drum. Well, not considering what might happen to that sealed drum in a couple decades. The weather gets really wet for 3 years.
Whoa.
Soaks through the groundwater, and the chemicals start to come up.
Displaces the chemicals and they rise. While I was watching that video that you were playing,
the interviews with Louise.
The interviews with Louise. Yeah, she was talking about how people who would be playing on the ground, kids would be playing on the ground, and they would get their clothes in contact with these chemicals that were leaching out of the ground, and some of them were so toxic that they would just spontaneously combust on your clothing. That's frightening.
Wasn't it somewhere in Cleveland the river actually caught fire?
Yes, it did.
Yeah. It was in the was it Cleveland?
And Bubbly Creek.
Bubbly Creek. Oh God, yeah. Well, that was due to meat processing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it set on fire.
My God.
So there's look up Bubbly Creek as well. And so this is nothing new.
Yeah.
Dumping crap into the environment.
But all this is pretty much all hitting at the same time.
Yeah.
Okay. In October 3rd, 1976, the Niagara Gazette posts the first news reports about the chemical seepage. And the reporter by the name of Michael Brown is the one who blows the lid off this. That's also when Louise, I forgot her last name already. I just mentioned her. Louise. We're just going to call her Louise. She contacts him, and they start putting 2 and 2 together. Now this is when she starts stepping up. Okay, remember, she's been shut down by the school board. She's been shut down by the health board. Mm-hmm. Even though I got to give the health board some credit. They were the first ones to kind of go, there's something going on here. They suddenly, but they don't want to hear from this housewife.
No one's paying attention to the illness of the children, people in this area.
Right.
Really, they don't want to address the problem because.
But like I said, the health board is raising its own, but they're not at this point working with the people who live there. They are raising the red flag, but there seems to be some bureaucracy going on. That's short-lived though, because pretty soon they are working with the homeowners. So I got to say, at first there's a little bit of not really animosity, but I think they hit some bureaucratic stuff.
Yes, there is some bureaucratic gatekeeping going on here.
But it was very short-lived, and then they started working together. So I don't want to paint the health department in a bad light, because they were one of the few people at the beginning who were going, there's something going on here. We got to do something here. And they were bringing the links that it's what was dumped there is causing the leukemia and other diseases. Mm-hmm. So now they're doing the test. Now it's the testing and studying and testing and studying. And of course, if you got people still living there,
Mm-hmm.
We're going, what is going on? And
meanwhile, the stillbirths are occurring,
mm-hmm.
the birth defects, the illnesses continue to mount in the meantime.
Right. The Department of Environmental Conservation gets involved, as does the EPA at this point. The DEC, they're the ones that recommend that Albany go after Hooker Chemicals.
Mm-hmm. Because
now they've been able to trace who's at fault. And they said we need to go after that. And also the DEC is one of the first ones, along with the homeowners group,
mm-hmm.
are saying this is worse than you think.
Mm-hmm.
We need more action. Okay, this is in 1977. So finally, they're finding chemicals in salt water. They're finding chemicals in the air around. A lot of it's gone airborne at this point. I mean, there was an example I read somewhere with somebody, they couldn't even live in their house because there was white foam coming through the cracks of their basement.
Yeah. Oh my.
Causing...
It's like something out of a Doctor Who episode.
Oh God, a horror movie.
You know,
yeah.
You know, the Green Death.
Right. So the state is starting to listen.
Doctor Who, Green Death.
Yeah, Green Death.
John Pertwee, look it up.
Yep. All right. So the state does take notice, and the state environmental commissioner and the health commissioner show up unannounced to make their own visit. So
mm-hmm.
The state is starting to take notice, but you've noticed things are moving kind of slow. I mean, people are getting sick. You've got people who can't live in their own house because of the stench and
mm-hmm.
The fumes and everything.
And you were sold this property. You know, and
in May 1978, the residents meet with the state officials to learn about the possible threats. So at this point, they have done the testing. They know what's stuff in there. There's a lot of them, a lot of chemicals in there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the video we saw with her, gosh.
How many chemicals did they find when they finally tested it?
She said over 200 now, but that was not the original. I think it was like 40. Louise Gibbs, when she got the list originally, she had a brother-in-law who was a biology professor, and she took the list to him, and she said, how bad is it? And he was like, bad. Get
out now.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. And now they're sitting down with the state, and in May of 1978, going over the same information. And it's pretty much the same. It's bad. Mm-hmm. It's bad. The state starts taking blood samples. They start taking, now they're listening to the health department more, and they're paying more attention, trying to figure out how bad are these illnesses being caused. In July of 1978, it was 81 chemicals they originally found, including benzene, air sampling.
Oh,
yeah,
that's petrol.
Yeah. Well, think about it. They were making plastics. It's more people meeting. Yeah. And here's the thing. It's moving pretty fast bureaucracy-wise, in my view. I'm looking at this as a timeline from, looking in the past. It is moving pretty fast. Every month something's going and it's moving forward. Problem is, when you're living in this situation,
it's not going fast
It's not going fast enough. No. And you could see
not
how
when you need
the homeowners
results.
are getting upset.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at this point, I'm sure a lot of people were moving away. But you're moving away and no one's going to buy your house.
No.
No one's going to, you're out of money for the house. You've got to move your entire family. Now you're dealing with the health. So yeah, something's got to be done. These families do need something done to help them because they've got, major issues coming up. August 2nd, 1978, Dr. Robert Whalen, the state health commissioner, declares a state emergency in the Love Canal. The 99th Street School is closed, and then they recommend pregnant women and children under the age of 3 move away. This is a recommendation, which I'm sure a lot of people at this point were thinking, yeah, we have to get out of here. But like I said,
where are you going to go?
Where are you going to go?
The next 20 years. Okay, we're talking 1970s dollars. Right. Okay, in the next 15 years, your income is tied up in a mortgage
that you can't
for a property that you're not going to be able to shift this, not in a million years.
No. So now everyone wants out. I mean, yes, it's great they were considering the pregnant women and the young children. everyone wants out.
Suddenly.
Everybody. Well, they've wanted out for a while, but it's like, okay, now you've got this recommendation. We want out, but we need help to get out. All right. It's basically what's going on. August 7th, President Jimmy Carter declares an emergency there. So now it's gone from a state emergency to a national emergency.
Wow.
But declaring a state emergency and actually acting upon that emergency. Later in August, the governor, Hugh Carey, visits the neighborhood and then decides to evacuate 239 families. That same month, Dr. Beverly Pagan is the first to call for a true evacuation of the area and is taking more soil samples to kind of back herself up. In September that year, the State Bureau of Occupational Health reports that 10% of the 4,000 blood samples taken in the neighborhood can indicate a chance of liver problems. That is unacceptable.
Yeah.
At any level. The state decides to move in and starts trying to clean up the area. The thing is, while you're cleaning up the area, you're disrupting the area, people are still living there.
Yeah, in 1978,
the
medical survey by Dr. Pagan claims that 75% of the Love Canal residents face increased health issues and risks. Well,
and they're starting to clean up, but like I said, when you start cleaning up, you're moving the stuff around, you're disturbing it, you're causing more of the chemicals,
you're exposing more people to the chemicals.
And not everybody's being evacuated. Only 239 families were evacuated at this point. But that doesn't last for long because now people are upset. They're picketing. I'm not sure when it happened, but at one point, some of the picketers even took some EPA people hostage for a few hours to try to get the point across. Like, everyone has to be out of here.
Yeah.
You can't just pick and choose.
Yeah, you can't cherry pick the families out of an area that is undetermined.
Right.
Because they don't know at this point the extent yet of the chemical saturation of the area.
March 21st, 1979, they offered to relocate 100 more families. But barely 2 weeks later, they find the dioxins have moved further away than they expected. Basically, it's growing. Okay, I could go through here month by month, and I'm not going to because we're running out of time. Okay. So basically, we're gonna hold this up, and it isn't until, let's see, a lot of these people who are being evacuated, I gotta say, when you're being evacuated, they need a place to put you, so they're putting temporary housing. So this is, again, not a good situation.
Yeah, this caused a lot of people to really be upset.
Yep.
And in April 16th of 1979, Democratic governor of New York, Hugh Carey, was burned in effigy behind the 99th Street School by the parents of the children affected by the chemicals. But that school is no longer in existence.
Right.
It since then got knocked down. The 99th Street School District. Right. The 99th Street School is no longer in existence. It's gone.
So finally, in October 26, 1979, Governor Carey, they buy more homes, and finally there's another evacuation of another 561 homes. You've been keeping track. This is a lot of people. This is nearly 1,000 families that have to move out of this area. And like I said, it just goes worse and worse. Now the federal government's getting involved, and they do a lawsuit against Hooker Chemicals. Finally, because somebody's got to pay for the cleanup. So,
well, yeah. I mean, you can't put the taxpayer on the hook for this.
Right. And then New York also sues them as well for the cleanup. And in the 1980s, all 710 families, boom, finally
evacuated.
Finally are given. Oh, yeah, it was also in May 1980. That's where they took them hostage.
Oh, okay.
May 19th, 1980, State University of Buffalo. Some Love Canal residents announced they may have irreversible nerve damage. Frustrated and upset by the reports of chromosomal damage now You're talking,
my
bad
God.
situation here.
Yes.
They take 2 EPA officials hostage and hold them for 5 hours, demanding evacuation of the entire place.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. A second national emergency, federal emergency, is declared by President Carter in May 1980. That's when they finally are all going to move away, but they get kind of screwed by the government by saying, well, we can only give you a loan. We can't give you any money directly.
Well, we can't help you out with what's our responsibility to begin with, but we'll borrow you money with interest to take care of something we started.
But in 1981, I think this is where the rumors of the Manhattan Project came from, because the State Assembly in 1981 charges that the Army was also dumping chemicals there. Now, it doesn't say directly to the Manhattan Project, but I think that's where the rumors came. The Army denied the charges, replied they have no evidence. But I think it was the State Assembly pointing the fingers at the military that led to the rumors that Manhattan Project.
Oh, let's spin a yarn about the United States military being involved here too, so we can make them the bad guy and say, "See, hey."
Yep. So
trying to distract people. That's a classic BS distraction.
So we're up to 19. I'm skipping ahead, and there's you could go through. This is actually, we're going right through one article on this. I have 86 pages. Too much notes on this thing, so we can actually
too much to cover in one podcast episode.
So I'm just going through one article right now, and this article is, I'm going to scroll ahead, is the history of the Love Canal disaster from 1893 to 1998. Was done by Buffalo News. So we're getting there.
We're almost up to present day, folks.
We're almost up to present day, and it's still going on. Okay.
And yes.
Basically, I'm going to scoot ahead. Nope. Basically, a lump sum is...
Yes, please.
Scoot ahead. They're starting to knock down the homes. People are getting out there. They finally were given some money to move.
Well, they weren't given fair market value for their homes, though, because they were contaminated.
And...
whose fault was that to begin with?
Exactly. That's where all these lawsuits are coming from. So in a nutshell, what happens because of this, and I'm going to start with, I had to go through it real fast, is the Superfund is developed. To help out. Exactly. Because, like with the interview we watched with Louise Gibbs, other politicians started realizing, wait, we've got a similar situation going on in my district. Well, who's going to pay for it?
Yeah.
How it's supposed to work is there's a small tax that's these chemical manufacturers pay. And it's a small tax. It's barely it. That goes into this fund, which is to help with the cleanups of these areas. The problem is, after Carter left, Reagan came in and he allowed these chemical manufacturers kind of sit down and rewrite the rules on the Superfund. The Superfund was supposed to be used to help relocate the families and get these places cleaned up. And the chemical manufacturers have basically got to sit down and go, well, we don't want to pay the tax, or, well, we will pay the tax, but we don't want to be sued. A lot of finagling going on. So the Superfund is still there.
Different companies wanted different things out of the deal, and it didn't.
But why they were brought to the table, and then, they're basically, these Superfunds are named, and really nothing much is done with them, or very slowly done with them.
Now, thanks to this, we've got different kinds of Superfunds.
Yeah. That's a whole other can of worms I don't want to get into, We lived next to a Superfund site for a while. It was a small one.
Better not. Yeah.
It was one old manufacturing building.
Yeah.
Finally, someone got in there with the right stuff, cleaned it up, and turned it into like a retail place, but... still, you gotta wonder. Love Canal was the one who started the Superfund. And there are positive things, even with the Superfund being kind of changed from what it was originally supposed to be. The money is still there. The problem is now these companies are not the ones being taxed. It's coming out of our income taxes. It's coming out of all that. So now we've got to pay to get our own place cleaned up, basically.
Because of corporations.
Because corporations didn't want to pay. Like I said, I don't want to get too political in it, but that's That's what's going on. But you think it's done with. You think, oh, the 80s, they cleaned it up, got everybody out of there.
No, it's ongoing.
It's ongoing.
The problem is ongoing.
February 14, 2014, this is another newspaper article, 15 new lawsuits filed over Love Canal. This is in 2014.
Yeah.
This is never going to leave us. All these sites are never going to leave us. We got Bubbly Creek. There was that place down in Mississippi, or was it Louisiana, where they were dumping this white powder that was it was a waste product of something they were manufacturing there. Or was that Texas?
I know the city you're talking about, and yes, it is in the southern Midwest.
Yeah.
And they were mining lead
and
there was this shale
that
was a byproduct from the mining, and they would just dump it outside the mine. And no one was warned that the stuff was toxic. They were having picnics on it.
Yeah, kids were playing on it. They were running their bikes over and stuff. That entire town is gone.
Yes.
No.
Yeah, and
it's gone. Nobody can live there.
Those folks, at least many of them, got fair market value for their properties before they were forced to evacuate.
I mean, the entire movie plot of Erin Brockovich is because of this too. She made a career of it. Yeah. And by the way, can we have a Louise Gibbs movie, please? Please, somebody.
Yeah,
I think every episode I ask for a movie being made of these people. I want one of her.
Louise Gibbs was no beauty queen. Okay.
Okay, but boy, she.
Yeah.
20 years old, she goes from wanting to be a housewife to an environmental activist because of what's going on with her family, and she's still fighting. Yeah, I want a movie made of her. I do. I want a movie made of her. And if there has been a movie made of her and I'm not aware, please tell me. I will watch
the reason we say that about Louise Gibbs, the beauty queen, because Erin Brockovich
was a beauty queen.
Yeah. Okay, so stop typing.
Yeah. So it's still going on, and there are other sites, like I mentioned Detroit, but that was a little different. That was a municipal decision.
Right.
That wasn't they knew that water was bad. And
they knew up front.
And they made that horrible decision to be cheap instead.
So this episode, we focused on human monsters.
Yes, I guess you could say.
And what they do for profits.
And the scary thing is,
and to cover up their mistakes.
There are a lot of sites like this. And like I said, most of these sites, I will say there was a little bit of ignorance. And the more we learn about the damage this stuff does, the more we go back and go, oh, God, we got to fix this now.
Yeah, as I pointed out earlier in a conversation we had before this episode, these byproducts are the property of the chemical companies,
Basically, yeah.
These chemicals are the property of the corporations they come from, and therefore they are responsible for their property, and they should take care of it. Well, the pernicious thing about corporations is that they rebrand themselves and become different corporations.
That was part of the thing with the Hooker Hooker chemical companies. They got bought out by this other company. Well, that other company, I said, they weren't responsible because that was the subsidiary of theirs.
Yeah, that was Hooker. We're
this company. We're not, but the federal government didn't buy it. Went after them anyway. Yeah, so this is a. We could do an entire podcast on this subject.
This kind of stuff.
And this was the Cliff Note version of Love Canal.
Yeah.
But it is a ghost town. And it is a ghost town due to human failing. I mean, Centralia, due to human failing. I mean,
Chernobyl.
Oh, God, Chernobyl is the worst. I mean, until Chernobyl happened, I would say Love Canal was at the top of everyone's list for environmental disasters. And then you got Chernobyl.
And then there is the nuclear power plant. I can't think of its name off the top of my head. It's
the one in Japan. Yeah. Well, okay. I'm going to put the Japan one separately because that was due to a severe, a severe natural disaster causing a man-made disaster.
Exactly.
So that was a little different, and you gotta give Japan credit for that. They jumped on it right away, and they were very upfront with what was happening.
They're an island nation, so yes, they have to be proactive.
Whereas Chernobyl,
and take immediate action.
Chernobyl, they didn't tell anybody that there had been a problem with the power plant.
Oh, Pripyat.
They didn't even tell some of the workers there had been a problem there.
Pripyat is a marsh. It's nothing but swampland out there in the middle of the Ukraine.
Yeah.
Which is not technically part of Russia
anymore.
Which was under under Soviet communist control. And they were using this power plant to power a massive espionage project called the Russian Woodpecker, and that structure is still there. Mm-hmm. But the project was a failure.
Yeah.
And so they needed some way of ending the project, with this intelligence project, and save face.
Right. So
that's one of the conspiracy theories behind why Chernobyl happened. Mm-hmm. They blew up the power plant and made the whole place radioactive, so none of the Soviet officials could go in there. Yeah. Who from the inner party in their right mind would go into Chernobyl? So,
but now it's a tourist site.
Exactly.
Which brings me to another point. I gotta admit, there's a weird thing I want to do as a bucket list item. Uh-huh. You can go to Project Manhattan sites in the U.S. now, certain ones. Some of them, maybe only for 10, 15 minutes. But you can actually tour some of these sites now. Mm-hmm. There are sites in Washington. There are sites in Utah. There are, there's sites and these are places where the nuclear testing was done. I'm not talking just the nuclear bombs. I'm talking pre-testing. I'm talking this is where they assembled them, things of that nature. And you can see these through tours, some of them through the federal government.
Yes.
One I looked
the site.
one of them I looked at, I think it's in Washington. Mm-hmm. You get in on a bus. You have to sign a waiver and all this to do this.
Of course, because it's toxic.
They take radiation levels when you get on the bus. You go through your tour, and they're constantly monitoring you. And as soon as you get too much, boom, almost too much, boom, you're on the bus and leave. Because they got to monitor the exposure. I kind of want to do this in a weird way, because it is a part of our
somebody else's body.
It is part of our history.
Yeah.
It is something that needs to be remembered. And like with Love Canal, I mean, there was a lot of things going on there that really, until this stuff started rearing its gross, ugly head, these chemicals started being leached on the ground, nobody thought about.
Absolutely not. No one gave it a second thought because it was thought to be perfectly safe. The way they looked at nuclear energy, they didn't know anything about, I believe it's called cross-sections, and they didn't understand that something that's inert, like lithium-7, would become lithium-6 when subjected to nuclear fission.
You want to hear something
and become
scary?
Bomb fuel.
3rd or 4th grade, everyone got this wonderful comic book with Mickey Mouse explaining how safe radioactivity was. I remember reading that.
You got radioactivity from the sun. Huh?
I wish I had kept a copy. Do you know how much money I could get for that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, that was when I was in 3rd and 4th grade. They were handing these out to school children. Yeah. One of the scariest things I remember seeing, but at the time I can see why it wasn't scary, was there's an old newsreel you'll see every so often of them spraying trees with DDT, and the kids are out there jumping around in the spray.
Mari, I remember local news reports of DDT, the miracle cure for your bed bugs, and they'd have entire trucks, spraying trucks, that would go up and down streets, spraying DDT everywhere in the neighborhoods to kill off. But we had elm disease. Dutch elm disease was going on. We had to do something about it, damn it.
But this wasn't done because there's this grand conspiracy to kill the American public. This was, we just didn't realize the full problem.
Exactly.
And that's what happened in Love Canal.
The potential of these chemicals to be harmful.
And there are other time bombs. There are other time bombs just waiting to blow up. There was one recently just outside of Chicago where stuff was being dumped. And 5-10 years ago, everybody thought, well, it's inert. No one's going to get sick.
Lithium-7 all over again.
But turns out, Chicago weather isn't the best place to just dump this.
Nope.
and it was having reactions with the weather changes, causing chemical reactions.
Yeah. The new fresh hell is always just around the corner.
Yeah. So, the advancements as they are, I mean, we could, like I said, we could do an entire podcast just on Love Canal and just on these environmental impacts. But it does kind of, if it doesn't make you take a pause and think, as you're driving down the street and you see this huge area that's empty and like, why hasn't anybody developed it? There probably is a good reason. Such a downer. I'm sorry it was such a downer this week, and I'm sorry there were no ghosts. Hey, look at this way. Look at all the animals in Chernobyl. They're mutating. Well,
they're very resilient.
And they're mutating.
Yes.
If you want zombies, this is how you get zombies.
But where do those radioactive hogs live anyway? Where are they? Are they in Pripyat?
I know the wolves are.
The radioactive wolves.
The wolves are the wolves are radioactive. I don't know about the hogs.
Interesting how this radiation has not affected the plant life.
It has somewhat, but not what people expected.
But I mean, in the way of growth.
Yeah.
I mean, it's over. Pripyat is now, Chernobyl is, the marsh is completely taken over again.
Well, put it this way. If it wasn't for the radiation, it would be a beautiful nature preserve if it wasn't for the radiation.
But the thing is, when you talk about post-apocalyptic, landscapes, it's all barren.
Well, you know what? Well, that's going to lead us.
This place is rife with radiation, and it's overgrown.
Yeah, true.
It totally blows
maybe they have to rewrite the next Fallout game. Okay.
Absolutely.
But that kind of leads me to a subject we're going to get to eventually, which is the Seneca Depot.
Yes.
Because that's got an interesting environmental effect from being in that case, they were storing weapons there, but there are some places, the depot, you can't go because there's some environmental issues, but they have an interesting effect that happened there because they were a closed off environment and some certain deer got in. They have a very unique thing that happened. We'll have it eventually, but you'll find out what I'm talking about, or just look it up. Look it up.
Exactly.
But it's an interesting environmental effect of having a closed environment, really. Right. It is. Yeah, we got to end this downer.
Okay. Well,
like I said, we could go on for hours on it. We could do an entire podcast just on Love Canal. We could do just on any of these environmental things. And these are the ghost towns that are going to become stories. They're going to become legends. I mean,
and I'm surprised there haven't been ghost stories about radioactive ghouls. Wandering around.
Wait for it. Wait for it. We're going to start seeing cryptid sightings. Well, no, I take it back.
Love Canal.
I take it back. We already have cryptid sightings, and they do blame places. Super fun places like this. Right. They do blame military testing sites for the creation of these cryptids. So it's already starting to happen. But I bet I'm going to put my money on it as somebody who loves folklore. If I could jump ahead 100 years.
Yeah.
The tales that are going to come out of it. And these...
It was 100 years ago.
Yeah, So, there we go. So let's end our talk about Love Canal.
Right. Thank you for listening for our ghastly podcast.
Thank you, and have a good day. Bye.
Or night.
Thank you for listening to Unearthly Upstate. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Patreon, and on our webpage. We are also on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Spreaker, Stitcher, Podbean, Google Podcast, and CastBox. Please like, share, and review on your favorite platform. Unearthly Upstate is an Animator Liar production. The show is produced by Mari and Matt Manette, with purring provided by Honey and Lloyd. Research and writing by Mari Manette. Music is by Kevin MacLeod, licensed under Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license. Unless otherwise stated in the episode, the places mentioned in the broadcast are not paid or contact us for any type of promotion. Please check out our webpage for credit and sources for the episode. Thank you.